Welcome to the Talk Sports Show with host Alec Pecado on Friday, February 9th. Today we are going over my way too early SEC predictions. Let's get started. Here are my SEC way too early standings predictions. In last place, unfortunately, is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, I do like what Clark Lee is building in Vandy, but I don't think Vandy is ready to compete yet. I think they still got a couple more years before they can actually compete in the SEC. At number 15, Arkansas. And with Vandy and Arkansas, you may see their coaches on another segment in a little bit, but back to Arkansas. I think they're going to compete, but I don't think they're going to be very good this year in the SEC. And I think their coach, hint, hint, might be on the chopping block. At number 14, Florida. The reason Florida's this low in the SEC way too early standings is because if you look at their schedule, they have a gauntlet they have the most hard schedule in the SEC this year, outside of maybe Georgia and Texas. But I think their coach is also on the chopping block, but we will get to that here in a few minutes. At number 13, Kentucky. Kentucky would have been number 15, but Mark Stoops is still the coach. But I don't really understand what they've been doing this offseason. Whether because they did have a decently good recruiting class, but I don't like what they've done in the portal. They tried to get another portal quarterback, and let's see how this one works out. But I think Kentucky, when I do this again in August, at the end of July, Kentucky might be higher. Number 12, South Carolina. Shane Beamer. This is a big season for Shane Beamer. If Shane Beamer can get South Carolina in the driver's seat and they can win the SEC, then he might save his job. But I don't know if that happens because you got Texas and Oklahoma now in the SEC. But I like what South Carolina's done in the portal a lot. All the transfers they've gotten. And I like they are going to have a new quarterback. That's the one reason I'm a little skeptical about South Carolina is because they're going to have a new QB. At number 11, Mississippi State. This is for one reason, and it is Jeff Lebby is the new head coach, and we've never seen Jeff Lebby as a head coach yet. He's been an offensive coordinator, and I feel like if you give him a couple years, he might help Mississippi State get back on the map in football. But that's if you give him a few years. At number 10, Auburn. Auburn made some noise. They got a couple 5-stars in the recruiting cycle. I really like that. I think Auburn has a chance to have a really good season. At number 9, Oklahoma. Okay, let me explain why Oklahoma's at number 9. One, first year in the SEC. I think they're going to be good. But are they going to have enough talent to match up to a Georgia, an Alabama, a Tennessee, a Missouri? Are they going to have that amount of talent? I do like Jackson Arnold. I did get a chance to watch their bowl game. Jackson Arnold he's going to be really good. I just think they need to keep getting help along the offensive line. And one of their issues is they've lost a few offensive linemen in the transfer portal. At number 8, LSU. No, I could have flipped Missouri and LSU, but I think LSU is going to be fine. It's just, again, like many teams in college football that have questions, one of their questions is QB. Who is their quarterback going to be? Is it going to be Nestmeyer or is it going to be somebody else? If it's Nestmeyer, this is probably where they're going to be going into the season. But if it's somebody else, if maybe they go out and get like a guy in the portal, maybe one of the Ohio State guys jumps in the portal. Maybe it's Devin Brown. Maybe they go out and get Devin Brown if he hops in the portal. And then I would feel better about LSU. Missouri's at number 7. Again, Missouri's another team that could have been higher, but their problem is the same thing as LSU, quarterback. They are replacing Brady Cook. Brady Cook, I believe, is going to the NFL, so Missouri needs a new quarterback. And I don't really trust the guys that are on the roster at the moment. Now, they could go out in the portal and get a QB, and I would, like I said, I would feel a lot more perpendicular and better with where Missouri is going into the season when I do this again in July or August. Number 6, Tennessee. Tennessee is another team that could have been a little bit higher, but again, like Missouri and LSU, what do they have a question at? QB. We've only seen one game out of their 5-star freshman, Nico Uimaga Valet. We've only seen one game out of him so far. And I was a little, in my opinion, I was a little underwhelmed at what I saw. But that's because that was his first career game. If he would have played better, I would have felt better about putting Tennessee in my top 5. But at number 5 is Texas A&M. And I like what they've been doing in the portal. I like Mike Elko. They did lose a bunch of guys in the portal, but they replenished, and they did a really good job at recruiting. They got 5-star athlete Terry Bussey, who is one of the best athletes in the state of Texas. And they got a couple other guys in their recruiting class that are going to be really good. At number 4, Alabama. Now, I know what y'all are going to say. And Alabama fans, it holds a special place in my heart. Nick Saban, one of the GOATs of coaching. And I'm skeptical on Kalen DeBoer being your new head coach, but I think y'all will be just fine. At number 3 is Ole Miss. Ole Miss, did you see what they did in the portal? They went nuts in the transfer portal. They did lose Quinshon Judkins and a couple other guys, but they got Logan Diggs and a bunch of other guys to transfer in from other schools. Lane Kiffin is the portal king. At number 2, Texas. Now, Quinn Ewers is coming back, so I think Texas will be one of the 4 best teams in the SEC. And at number 1, until further notice, y'all can disagree with me on this all you want. You can put Bama here, you can put somebody else here. I think Georgia is still the best team in the SEC until proven otherwise. So now here we go to the way too early SEC record predictions, starting with the top of the SEC, 1 through 4. So at number 1 is Georgia. I have them either going 11-2 or 12-1. With one other, if say they go 11-2, one of their two losses is probably going to be to Texas. And then they might lose to either Alabama or Ole Miss. If they go 12-1, I'm saying their only loss will probably be to Texas. Number 2, Texas, 11-3 or 11-2. If they go 11-3, that means they lost to Georgia, they lost to Alabama, and they lost to maybe Ole Miss. If they go 11-2, their losses would only be to either Georgia or Ole Miss or Alabama. At number 3, Ole Miss, 10-2 or 11-1. I could see Ole Miss winning 11 games. I could also see them winning 10, with one of their two losses being to maybe Texas or Georgia. Alabama, and this one's a little controversial. It has nothing to do with all the guys they lost to the portal. I think this, and Alabama fans, don't be ashamed. I think 9-4 or 10-3 is your projected record right now. If you go 9-4, that means you lost to Georgia, lost to Ole Miss, lost to Texas, and maybe lose to Auburn. If you go 10-3, that would mean Texas was one of your losses, Ole Miss, and Georgia. So either way, you lose to Georgia. But I think this is how the top of the SEC is going to shape out next year. Now, here's my top 4 coaches that are on the hot seat. And I mentioned a couple of these guys earlier. Number 4, Shane Beamer. Now, you can look at this and say, why would you say Shane Beamer's on the hot seat? Shane Beamer was going to get fired last year before South Carolina decided to turn it around and actually play good. But do I see an avenue where Shane Beamer gets fired at South Carolina this year? Yes, I do, and I will explain how right now. The reason I could see him getting fired is because I could see where they start the season 1-2, 1-3, maybe 1-4, and they say we need a new coach and we need a new leader in the locker room, and they fire Shane Beamer and hire an interim from within, and maybe that interim ends up turning their South Carolina season around, and they end up making a bowl game, and Shane Beamer goes somewhere else and gets a job, or Shane Beamer doesn't get fired and they keep him. Number 3, and this was unfortunate. I like the hire when it happened for Vanderbilt. Clark Lee. I think Clark Lee gets fired by Vandy if they have another bad season, which, as you can see, I have them having, and you will see my way too early record prediction for Vanderbilt in a little bit. But I think I like Clark Lee. But my question to you guys is if Vanderbilt starts the season 1-3, 1-4, 0-5, do you fire Clark Lee? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Give me your opinion on what you think down in the comments below. If Vanderbilt starts 1-4 or 0-5, does Clark Lee get the boot? And do they have a new head coach going into 2025? At number 2, And this one is on everybody. He's on everybody's list to get fired. Billy Napier, Sunbelt Billy. Graham Mertz is coming back. I don't think that's going to make a difference. They did get DJ Lagway, a really highly rated quarterback. But I think if Florida starts this season 0-3, 0-4, 0-5, or 1-4, that Billy Napier gets the boot and gets let go by Florida, and they hire an interim coach to finish out the season. And again, with all this, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And at number 1 is a guy that should have been fired last year. I don't know what the boosters at Arkansas were thinking when they kept Sam Pittman. Arkansas is going to be one of the worst teams. Mark my words. I think Arkansas will be one of the worst teams in the SEC this year. Not as bad. They'll be a little bit better than Vandy, but I still think that Arkansas is going to be one of the worst teams in the SEC, and it's not even close. So again, that is Beamer, Clark Lee, Bailey Napier, and Sam Pittman. Let me know if there's any other coaches in the SEC in the comments down below that you think might get fired this year. So here is my SEC way too early record predictions for the middle of the SEC, 5 through 8. So at number 5, we've got Texas A&M. I have them going 8-4 or 7-5. And this would be, if they go 8-4, that would be a huge, big time step up in wins for that would be a 3-win improvement for A&M, because they went 5-7 last year under Jimbo Fisher, and I'm not surprised Jimbo got bought out and fired. I am surprised that he didn't find another job, but I think A&M is going to be much improved this year, and you may see their coach in a segment later on. At number 6, Tennessee. And I think Tennessee's going to go 8-5 or maybe 8-4. Again, like I said when I did the standings, the only reason I'm skeptical on Tennessee getting more than 8 wins is because we don't know how good their quarterback's going to be. Nico Oamiaga-Vile. I'm just going to call him Nico because I don't want to butcher his I'm sorry if I'm butchering his last name, but I'm just going to call him Nico. We don't know how good Nico's going to be. If Nico's really good, I could see Tennessee not getting 9 or 10 wins. But that's the thing we don't know yet, is how good Nico can actually be. At number 7, Missouri. Missouri lost a lot. I mean, they did get Luther Burden is coming back, but they did lose Cody Schrader, Brady Cook, a few offensive linemen, a few defensive linemen. And I have them going 7-5 or 8-4. And again, I think that would still be it'd be a downgrade from what they went last year going 10-2. But I still think it'd be a good season because the SEC is absolutely stacked this year with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas. So, but I do think that Missouri's still going to have a good year. And then at 8, LSU, 7-6 or 7-5. It's going to I think it's going to be between they're going to get between 7 and 8 wins. I think the max is 8. Their ceiling is 8 wins. Their floor is 6 or 7. They could get over 8, but I like right now, because we don't know who their quarterback's going to be, I like 7 wins. Again, so that is A&M, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU. And in the comments down below of this video, comment and tell me if there's SEC teams you think that I should have put higher in my rankings and lower. Now we've got the way too early most improved SEC teams in SEC 2024 / way too early SEC championship game. And that would be so. The way too early coaches of the way too early most improved teams in the SEC. I think Auburn at number 3. Like I said earlier, I do think Auburn's going to be very much improved. And it starts with Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is a really good recruiter. And it's an understatement to say that he does not know how to recruit, because he does. And I think Hugh Freeze and Auburn will be one of the most improved teams. Number 2, Mississippi State. Now, hear me out on Mississippi State. I think Jeff Lebby is going to help Mississippi State win a few more games. How many? We'll see. And then at number 1, Mike Elko. This was a home run hire for Texas A&M. Number 1, actually, Texas A&M. And I do like the hiring of Mike Elko a lot, and you'll see how much I like it in a little bit. But I think that A&M is going to be a lot better this year. And in my way too early SEC championship game predictions, number 1 was supposed to be Alabama, Texas. I accidentally put Georgia in there twice, so act like that's Alabama. But number 3, Georgia, Texas. Now, we would have got this in the playoff last year if Georgia didn't lose the SEC championship game. I think if Georgia won the SEC championship game last year, it would have been Georgia, Texas in the first round of the playoff. Now, I think we might get it this year in the SEC. And that would be a heck of an SEC championship game. Number 2, Ole Miss, Texas. And this is another SEC championship game that I would love to see. The Kings of the Portal, Ole Miss against Texas with Quentin Ewers and all the weapons that he has. And then at number 1, Texas, Alabama. I know it says Georgia, but it's supposed to say Alabama. This was a game that we were going to get last year if Georgia won and Alabama didn't. I think we could get SEC championship game Alabama, Texas this year. Here is my SEC standings record prediction, SEC 9 through 12. So at number 9, yes, I have them a little bit higher here than I do in the standings. This is their record. Overall standings are different than the record. So at number 9 is Auburn, 7-6 or 6-6. Auburn just barely missed a bowl game last year. I believe they missed a bowl game by 1 win, but I think they get the requisite number of wins to make a bowl game this year. And I think that they will be better in 2024. At number 10, South Carolina, 6-6 or 5-7. Now, these are way too early record predictions, which they will change when we do this again at the end of July. I see a avenue where maybe South Carolina does for this year, or maybe they finish a little lower. But I think you can see 6 or 7 wins, maybe 5 at least. Mississippi State's at number 11. And Mississippi State, 5 and 7 or 6 and 6. I think Jeff Lebby has the capability of taking Mississippi State to a bowl game in his first year and getting 6 wins. And then at number 12, Oklahoma. 5 and 7 or 6 and 6 is reasonable for Oklahoma in their first year in the SEC. They did lose, like I said a minute ago, they lost a lot in terms of in the portal. I think they're still going to be fine. My way too early coaches of the year for the SEC. Number 3, Mike Elko, Texas A&M. I absolutely love this hire for A&M. It's a home run hire, A+. I don't know if I called it on my show a couple months ago before they did it, but if I did, I'm a genius. I said, I think Mike Elko, if you go back and watch my show back, I think it was in October or November when I talked about Texas A&M's next head coach, and I think Elko was one of the guys I said for their head coaching job. Number 2, Jeff Lebby, Mississippi State. This is another hire that it's kind of questionable, but I do like it a lot. I think Mississippi State found their next coach because last year they didn't really have the chance to. Zach Arnett was kind of an interim. And then at number 1, it's got to be Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart is one of the brightest minds in college football in the SEC. And the last part of the rankings. So, 13 through 16. At number 13, Kentucky. 5 and 7 or 4 and 8. I think this is logical for them. Maybe they get 6 or 7 wins. But again, this is the way too early predictions, which means when I do this in July and August, these standings can completely look different. Because I do deep dives into every conference before the season starts. These are just way too early predictions. But I see Kentucky being a little bit more improved than they usually are. And then, so at number 14, Florida. 4 and 8 or 3 and 9. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, Florida does have a gauntlet of a schedule this year. And I think the best they can do is 3 and 9. And Billy Napier, unfortunately, gets the thumb and gets fired. Number 15, Arkansas. 3 and 9 or 2 and 10. And you see, I have my hands up because I am very, very skeptical of Arkansas. And they made a questionable hire for their offensive coordinator, Bobby Petrino. If you don't know the story of Bobby Petrino, the first time he was at Arkansas, I highly recommend going and reading it. It's kind of graphic, the reason he got let go by Arkansas in the first time he was there. But I think their offense will be better. But I still don't think they're going to get over 3 wins. And then in last place is Vanderbilt, 2-10 or 3-9. Yes, I do think they have a chance of getting 3 wins because if you look at their non-conference, they play some teams in non-conference that are not particularly that good. But I think they will be fine. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to go to ESPN and we're going to try to look up the schedules. I'm going to give you 4 SEC teams and their schedule. Maybe. Channel content. Hold up. We're going to go here. ESPN. So I got ESPN. So sports fans are going to go to. Right here. We are going to try. Let's see if the schedules are released yet during the SEC. I'll give you Florida's first. Let's see if they're 20. Oh, yes, it is. Okay. So here's Florida. We could have done this with the AAC the other day, but I didn't. So they start the year with Miami. I think that's a loss. I think they beat Sanford, so that's a win. So they're 1-1. Lose to A&M, Texas A&M, 1-2. Beat Mississippi State, 2-2. Lose to UCF, 2-3. Lose to Tennessee, 2-4. Lose to Kentucky, 2-5. Lose to Georgia, 2-6. Lose to Texas, 2-7. Lose to Auburn. Lose to LSU, 2-8. Beat Ole Miss, 3-8. And lose to Florida State, 3-9. And ladies and gentlemen, I do offer memberships and merch. You can find. I've been tagging my merch in my link. I mean, in my videos lately. And the memberships are easy to find. All you do is click on the little join button next to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, which I would greatly appreciate if you do subscribe. And also turn on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads. But that'll do it for me today. I will see you back here. I will see you for another episode of the Talk Sports Show on Monday. Little programming note for the Talk Sports Show and College Basketball Show. No show next Thursday. It is my birthday. And if you want to wish me a happy birthday next Thursday, you can do it via social media on my Twitter, the Alec Pecado, or my Instagram, Alec Thomas Pecado 24, or in the comments of any of my videos. Because I do look at the comments after the videos are over. But that'll do it for me today. Until the next video, I'll see you when I see you. Peace.